All right, can everyone hear me up back, especially? Okay, it's a big thumbs up. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Good to see such a large turnout. Diane from the library. By the way, Diane, as always, thank you very much for helping make this evening a possibility. For the first time ever, Diane ran out of brochures. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, so thanks everyone for coming out tonight. What I want to do first is, what is really good, we see a lot of familiar faces, but what's also great, we see a lot of new faces. So if anyone who is a candidate running tonight, if you could just stand for a second, and if we can give applause to all the people who are running. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Goffstown Lions Club, we'd like to welcome you to this candidates night. A lot goes into putting this on every year. And in addition to Diane, who helps a lot, and all the Lions, I do want to point out someone in particular who really made this evening possible. You know, everyone is very, very busy with a lot of things going on, but this gentleman really stepped up to the plate and helped out, got a lot of the behind-the-scenes work done. And I'd like to give a big shout-out to Lion Jim Helene. And standing next to him, smiling, someone else who likes to help out and does a great job, is Lion Claire. Thank you very much. So this evening, for those of you who have never been here before, how we do the candidates night, we call up the candidates one by one. The candidates have up to 4 minutes to speak. We do not take any questions while the candidates come up. What we ask is if the candidates at the end of the evening, if they're able to stay, that would be great. And if you have any questions for a particular candidate at that time, you may go up and speak with them. Okay, and someone else, before we start, I want to give a shout out to for putting everything together for me. As always, the one and only Kathy Ball. Thank you, Kathy. Kathy, I don't know what the town would do without you. Don't ever move. But thank you again for all your help. All right, Kathy had given me the list, as you'll see these names on the ballot, and that's how we're going to call people up. And the first is for Select Board, and the first name is Brian Mazer.
If I move here. Give me a second. And since I'm getting old, or older, gotta love these. All right. So, you guys can hear me? Good? All right. So, good evening, guys. And thank you, Ken and Lions Club, for putting on this event. Thank you for high school for hosting it. And I commend all of you in the crowd and also online for coming out to this session. So I appreciate it. So my name is Brian Mazer. I am running for Select Board. I've been married to my wife, Lisa, for almost 28 years. We've been in the community for 7 years. And we are the proud parent of a almost 18-year-old Shih Tzu dog named Piper, which is our walking miracle. Vocationally, I am a director of channel sales for an independent software vendor, and we provide or offer solutions for small and large contact centers. In addition, I actually have very extensive volunteer and leadership experience. I actually established and led a parking slash welcoming team for a large church in Manchester, New Hampshire for over 14 years across multiple campuses. I also spent a lot of time with the homeless and under-resourced in our communities, as well as I actually participated and led some national disaster relief efforts. And to top it off, I also have been involved and led 4 global short-term outreach trips to Rwanda, Africa, and also to Dominican Republic. And in turn, what we did, we provided clean water training, best practices around personal health and hygiene, and really to empower the local leaders so they can be the ambassadors to the villages and provide the resources they desperately need. Okay, so why am I running? I have to say I love our quaint town. However, I've been concerned about our property taxes and the increasing property taxes. And to kind of hit this home, some residents have been reaching out to me and saying, I have a concern with the property taxes or the increasing of property taxes. So let me read you a direct quote from one of our residents. Quote, as someone who is still working in my early 70s, mostly to pay my property taxes so I can continue to live in the home that my husband and I built together many years ago, end quote. That really hit me hard because I'm not in retirement age yet. However, it's a real and tangible issue and a concern. And if someone has a fixed income or budget and they're in the retirement age, they shouldn't be struggling to figure out how they're going to be paying their property taxes or being struggled to try to keep their home due to increasing of property taxes. So that's one thing. Another proposed question was, what issues do I plan to address to improve our community? I would say I plan to thoroughly review our town's overall spending and see where we can save money. And so the first one is save money, as well as to lower property taxes without decreasing services. And property taxes and increasing taxes or property taxes is the number one concern with residents by far, hands down, number one issue. In addition, I want to change the paradigm or the pronoun from I to we. We are stronger together as a community. And I want to work together. I want to solicit feedback to enrich our community, to improve our community. And in closing, leadership is all about supporting and encouraging one another, removing obstacles so each person grows professionally and personally. Also, good leaders are good listeners. And let me share a relevant quote from one of my favorite authors. His name is Simon Sinek. Maybe you've heard of him. Quote, you don't hire for skills, you hire for attitude. You can always teach skills, end quote. I have the right attitude and the drive to succeed. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here, your time. I trust that what I shared resonates with you, and I'll be honored to receive your vote on March 8th. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Brian. And I want to thank Fred for reminding me, please turn your cell phones off. Thank you, Fred. Either mute or turn it off. Okay. All right, next up is Collis Adams.
Well, good evening, folks, and thanks for coming out tonight in less than desirable weather conditions. I think I belong to the same eye club as Brian, so just give me a second to put on my other set of eyes. My name's Collis Adams. I am running for re-election to the Select Board. I'm currently finishing out my second term serving on the Select Board representing the folks of this fine community. It's a tough job, but it's a job that I've been committed to and have worked tirelessly to do the best for our citizens, young and old alike. Certainly taxes is first and foremost on my list. I fully support lean budgets. You know, as a select board member, we have always in the past charged our department heads with bringing forward lean budgets that are only those things necessary to accomplish the mission of our various departments. And I think we've been very successful at that. Have we always been able to keep taxes down? Of course not, but there's certain contractual obligations that we must meet according to law and contract. And unfortunately, that does generate some tax increases. But I have worked tirelessly putting together those budgets so that we meet our needs and limit the burden on taxpayers for what I'll call wants, things that are not necessary to accomplish the missions and the goals of our departments. So that's one of my primary goals as well, and I think that should be the goal of everybody who serves in a public capacity. I'm not going to go through a bunch of my background. You can read it in the booklet. I moved to Goffstown in 1986. I've been a 27-year resident ever since then. I'm sorry, 37-year resident ever since then. Put my kids through Maple Ave, Mountain View, Goffstown High School. They're all graduates from those fine schools. We do a great job educating our kids, support the school systems wholeheartedly, and we'll continue to do so, including the ability of, thank you, the ability of the select board to work with the school board to accomplish common goals. So that's certainly one of my driving forces, to make sure that we do that in a fiscally responsible manner. I don't have a lot of time, certainly within 4 minutes. I started to write down some notes. I looked at it. I said, you know what? That's not going to happen. I crumpled it up, threw it away. I said, you know, I'm just going to speak from the heart and from experience. So that's what I'm here tonight, bearing my soul before all of you. We've got some serious challenges facing us as a community in the not too distant future. Some of the demands on our tax dollars are significant. We have a lot of demand for various departments in town, and we need to figure out a way to work with those competing demands, because our tax dollars, our pool of money, is limited, and we need to best determine how we can distribute those amongst our departments. Every department in this town has some needs. You know, we've got aging, what I'm going to call infrastructure. I'm not talking specifically about roads. We've got a great road plan that was put in place. I was part of preparing that road plan. You may say, my road's not very good, but you know what? We had to develop a plan, prioritize how we were going to address our roadway needs. I'm talking more about our government infrastructure in the way of buildings. Our buildings are aging, some of them faster than others. It doesn't matter if you're talking about town hall, the police department, the library, Parks and Rec has a lot of facilities, DPW, they all have needs. They all want to make improvements to their facilities so they can continue to provide the services that we have all come to expect. That's a tall order. I mean, that is an overwhelming order when you look at them in totality. How do we deal with that? I think that needs to be one of our top priorities, because if we fail to take action and do something now, time will march on. They will continue to deteriorate and get to a point where some of them will be no longer salvageable. And I'll point to Station 17, our fire department. I'm not suggesting it's not an important facility for our town, but I'll tell you right now, as an engineer of 30 years, that building cannot be salvaged. It does not meet life safety codes. It's not structurally sound. That's not to say a fire department is not needed in that section of town, but I'll tell you right now, I won't support anything that dedicates money to trying to refurbish that station. It can't even accommodate modern day fire apparatus. So that's an example of what I mean by talking about our needs specifically. We need to look at these and develop them in a logical fashion. Certainly the library has done that. They've already done feasibility studies. They've got cost estimates, and that's the right way to approach this. We've got a desperate need with our police station. They're doing the same thing. We've already set up a team to look at a feasibility and what our options are and what's the most advantageous way to make improvements to that facility. The same holds true for Town Hall. We need some improvements there because our staff, quite frankly, has outgrown the space there. So as you can see, we've got a number of competing needs. My goal is to find a way to bring together folks to address from a holistic perspective how we meet the needs of improving those public facilities. We have a CIP plan in place. It kind of languishes at time. I think it needs some help. I would suggest what we should do is bring together those people who make the decisions in these various departments to find out how we can best work together to allocate the limited number of tax dollars to improve these facilities. If we don't, we're looking at much, much bigger price tags in the not too distant future. Another thing, project that's near and dear to my heart, by the way, I'm a small business owner in Goffstown. I'm retired after a 30-year career with Department of Environmental Services, protecting, preserving, and restoring the valuable resources of the state of New Hampshire and the town of Goffstown specifically. But I am retired, so I've got plenty of time to dedicate to these issues. I've got plenty of energy. I've got plenty of gas left in the tank. I obviously have plenty of time to dedicate to these initiatives. One of my pet projects, and if you've been watching it, is I brought forward to the Board of Selectmen on our action matrix was to restore and rebuild a bridge in the center of town after the covered bridge burned down in 1976. I think that lack of a bridge in there doesn't suit us well. I think the town could benefit tremendously if there were another bridge built there, and I think that can be done, and I would dedicate my time and efforts to do that, and I would commit to you that I would do it in a way that would not result in any use of public monies. I've proven that it can be done. When I led the charge to restore the waterfront at Glen Lake, we did that with zero tax dollars. I am convinced we can do the same and get a bridge back in place that not only literally but figuratively reconnects our community, our Pinardville residents and our village residents. I'm really passionate about that, something that I'm going to strive to do. I've got lots of other great ideas, and if you've got great ideas, I would love to hear about them. Very easy to get a hold of. My email address, and you're welcome to email me at any time, is very easy. collis.adams@comcast.net. It's a great, easy email. So I'll leave you with that. I would ask for your vote. Thank you for coming out, but please, please get out. Find some time in your busy daily schedules on March 8th to get out and cast your vote. It's one of the most important things you can do. And when you do that, I would ask you if you'd please cast a vote for me. Thank you very much. Sure.
Okay, thank you, Collis. Next up is Kelly Boyer.
Thank you, Ken. I wear contacts, so mine are already on, so don't worry about that. I just want to say, first off, thank you to the Lions Club and the library for another great year. This is the most people I've ever seen at a candidates night, so thank you all for coming out and being a part of our process here in town. This is wonderful, so thank you for being here. My name is Kelly Boyer, and I'm running for re-election to the Goffstown Select Board on March 8th. I am running because I'm invested in the future of our community. For those of you who don't know me, I just recently got back from 10.5 months on active duty orders. I'm in the Army, so I took a year off from my select board term. I served for 3 years prior, and I am back and ready to serve. I work as a senior human resources information specialist at Solution Healthcare, and in the Army, I'm a public affairs mass communication specialist. I serve as a governor's appointed board member for Volunteer New Hampshire, and also as an advocate for the Women's Foundation. In our candidates brochure, I put a lot of information about excuse me, the work that I accomplished on the select board. A lot of the things in the day-to-day we all do in some capacity, but I would like to note a couple very exciting things that are in there, which I was able to help us achieve. It's very difficult for a select board member to say that they've really accomplished anything on their own. We are truly a town that works within teams, that is highly integrated in conversations we have about our community and how we serve the taxpayers. I would really love to continue to be part of that team and keep on with innovative solutions. In my first term, I created a list of, and I actually have it with me if you'd like to see, of over 40 items for which the select board could review, explore, or create to tackle things like employer retention, tax reduction, innovations in communication and outreach towards residents, And since I've left the select board in the past year, my list has certainly grown. I would love to continue to be part of the team that talks about those lists with residents, departments, and the board alike, and I promise to always bring lists. It's a joke for any of you who don't know me. I'm confident that my over 10 years experience as a human resources professional will be highly utilized in the select board for employee retention and strategic development. On top of my leadership experience, my town leadership has given me the experience of knowing the hard work it takes to be an accountable select board member. Once re-elected, I will bring those same skills and energy back to the board. I am committed to communication and transparency and will be accountable and accessible while holding all town offices to a high and accountable standard. Finally, I will ensure that our town government is based on respect, civility, fair process, and transparency. In my next term, I will continue to work with all boards to ensure that the tax rate is justifiable, making Goffstown as affordable as possible for all residents. As Selectman Collis noted, we have a lot of big things coming up in the next few years. Our CIP process has been one that shows incredible growth in the next few years. So we're going to have some very difficult conversations about how to prioritize our spending and budgeting in the next 5 to 10 years. The select board is going to have to review, reevaluate, and re-support different initiatives like the road plan, municipal building improvements, and the capital improvements projects here in town. I feel strongly about proactive yet realistic future planning for our community and finding cost-saving opportunities that we can utilize. Grant funding is something that I feel very passionately about. It's one way that we can actually impact our tax rate. And in the past year, Goffstown raised over $600,000 through grant funding. It's something that we could utilize more if we had a full-time person to not only review but manage these grant opportunities for our community. As I said, I've worked in human resources for almost 15 years at this point, and I believe that the town should also invest in a human resources professional. I know that hiring new employees for the town can be something that's difficult to talk about. It's hard to justify spending money on new employees in our town, but I strongly believe that a human resources professional could work on streamlining compliance, working on lowering costs for benefits plans for employees, providing initial and ongoing training for employee retention, and this person could also work on the grant funding and grant management for our community. I have a lot of ideas for our town, and I'm very excited to bring my list back to the community to serve Goffstown. I also believe that we should revisit revenue generating opportunities for our community like the solar project, strengthening the communications committee, and focusing on employee wellness to strengthen employee interactions. We have almost 400 employees here in the town of Goffstown, and working on employee wellness and retention with the relationship with the select board is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm running for re-election because I'm invested in the future of this community. I am confident that my contribution to Goffstown will be led by thoughtful decision-making through research, community conversations, and foresight. I will continue to advocate for taxpayers while working fluidly with committees and boards in town. Most importantly, I would like to do what's best for all residents of Goffstown. Thank you for your commitment to our community, for all of you being here this evening. I definitely appreciate your time, and I humbly ask for your vote on March 8th.
Thank you, Kelly. And next up is Richard Bear Freeman.
I'm going to be different. I'm taking mine off. And yes, I am a real person. A few people earlier today said, there is a Bear Freeman. Yeah, I said, that is me, yes. Once again, I am Richard Bear Freeman. I am married to the former Kathy Buxton Russell Freeman, and she's a lifelong resident here in Goffstown. She introduced me to this town 2003, and thank you. I'm sorry. I thought I was loud enough. I didn't need the mic. Okay. Once again, Kathy Buxton is my wife. She's a lifelong resident, grew up on New Boston Road. Graduated from Goffstown High in 1978. We have 4 children between the two of us, 2 boys, 2 girls, and we almost have 5 grandchildren. We are waiting on our 5th one now. I am a union iron worker, been an iron worker for just about 30 years. I've been on many construction projects. You've probably driven over some of the bridges I've had my hands in, or in some of the buildings I put my bolts in. There's nothing more I could say that the other candidates haven't said, that we all want to work for the same thing. We want to curtail spending, keep the tax rate low, and invest in our future for our children. I am also very active in the community with the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks, where I am the longest exalted ruler in the city of Manchester for their Elks. I have been there. We were for the veterans, children, drug awareness, and all that. Once again, I can't say anything more than our other candidates have said about spending and building our community. I'm not very much of a talker. I'm more of a doer. So I'm here to ask you for one of your 2 votes on March 8th, and I look forward to working with each and every one of the departments, the select board, and our neighbors and friends in the community. Once again, thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Richard Freeman, and like I said, I'm asking for one of your 2 votes.
Thank you, Richard. Before we go on, there's a few people who came in. I just want to make sure you weren't candidates and didn't get a chance to speak with me. I think you all went and sat with someone, so if you happen to come in a little late and you're a candidate, please catch up with me so we don't miss having you come up here this evening. Okay, next on the list is our Budget Committee, and first up is Richard Manzo.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the Lions Club for putting on this event tonight, and thank you all for being here. I've never seen a turnout so big, and especially with tonight's weather conditions, this is just really awesome to see you all here tonight, and I really appreciate you coming. My name is Richard Manzo. I'm running for re-election to the Goffstown Budget Committee. I first moved to Goffstown before my first year of attending Bartlett Elementary School, which was right in the 4th grade. Moved here with my parents, and they always told me that they selected this town specifically because of the high-quality education that it offered. I've served this community for the past few years in various offices, including the Budget Committee, of course. I represented the Budget Committee to the Capital Improvements Plan Committee. I serve as the Secretary of the Trust Fund Trustees, and I spent a year serving as a library trustee. By trade, I am a business operations consultant. I help businesses specifically eliminate inefficiencies within their company and make sure that every budget dollar sees its greatest impact. I'm really running with 3 simple priorities in mind. Low spending, because every single one of our residents deserves budget committee members who respect that they pay for the town's bills. Transparency, because taxpayers deserve to know what they're spending and when. And accountability, so voters can trust that when the town explains their long-term financial plans, those plans will actually be followed as closely as possible. A healthy, responsible, and sustainable budget is one that serves our town's service needs, and it doesn't harm our constituents financially. Whether our constituents are working for their money, or they're relying on a fixed income, or even if they're relying on a rather large investment income, it really doesn't matter. Our town needs to set a budget that takes their long-term needs into effect and doesn't set a budget that outgrows their income so that they can continue to afford to live in town. With all that being said, I believe that everyone on the budget committee should be united behind one common purpose, that the town not spend a single penny more than is absolutely necessary to serve the community and its needs. And if you want to join me in that mission, I respectfully ask for your vote to re-elect me to the Goffstown Budget Committee on March 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Next up is Jeff O'Brien.
All right, thank you, everyone. My name is Jeff O'Brien. I moved here back in 2009 with my wife Janelle. It's been quite a great experience, I have to say. Came here with no children, and today we have been blessed with 2 kids who are in the Goffstown School District, one at Maple Ave and the other at the Mountain View Middle School. I guess I am running for the Budget Committee, and I echo a lot of the great sentiments that Richard came up here and said as well. We have to look at making sure these tax dollars are going to the right places. We're not overspending. We've heard from our select board nominations talking about a lot of big projects. When I hear that, I hear dollar signs. And I know we don't want to hinder our taxpayers and see those big increases that come. And to see so many people here today is a great sign. We generally have low turnouts, and a lot of these spending bills come up on the ballot. And the more people who will get involved, the more people who get aware and see where this money is going and understand these projects, we get to make that decision of where that money is going. Now, I'm not up for long-winded speeches, so I'm going to kind of keep things nice and short and cut my time, just like I like to cut budgets. I want to keep things nice and simple for our taxpayers. And that's all I have for you. So I ask for your vote on March 8th, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Next up is Sean Goodwin.
How's it going, everybody? Excellent. Good. Thanks. I'll try to keep it short and sweet as well. Thanks for having us here. Thanks for hosting. And that's all I got. Thanks. No, all right. Just kidding. So my name's Sean Goodwin. I'm running for Budget Committee. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Nashua. I was the younger of 2 boys who was raised with divorced parents. My father would later remarry and gain 2 more stepless siblings from that. Life wasn't easy back then, and given those circumstances and living in poverty most of my life, which actually helped me learn early on about being responsible, working hard, having a budget, and sticking to it. Fast forwarding to after high school, I lived out of state for a couple of years, but eventually returned home to live free or die state. As a hobby, I got involved in some local acting. That's where I met my wonderful wife, Carrie. Our relationship grew, and in 2010, I eventually moved in with her right here in Goffstown, which leads me to my family. I have 1 child, and he's 14, and he has autism, and he attends Mountain View Middle School. He started here in the 1st grade, and with just a few words. It wasn't great, so I can definitely say that the school system here is fantastic. They really helped my son in many ways, and I'm sure they helped your children as well. And I actually just really want to take a moment to thank the teachers and the staff and everyone, because they all have very special powers and gifts they have in educating our children, including my 3 stepchildren who are my wife's kids. And they've all graduated from high school, and I couldn't be more proud of them. Our kids have been involved in activities ranging from police explorers to varsity cheerleading and Special Olympics. We have a wonderful town full of good people, and I love being part of the community. It makes me feel like home. What do I do in my life? Well, I'm a fundraiser and volunteer for Autism Speaks, and take part in other volunteer and fundraising events through my employer, because we love to give back to the community, and that's basically why I'm doing this now. I'm trying to give back to my community and trying to help the Goffstown community figure out a good budget. I have diverse work experience, and I've worked in the restaurant hospitality industry, landscaping, framing, and roofing, and also a few business partnerships as well. I've tried many things until a few years ago when a good friend of mine caught my interest in real estate. That's where the magic happened. I love helping people, and with my diverse background, it was a perfect fit for me to become a realtor. I love what I do, and I get to help people. I feel lucky and blessed in my life because not only did I discover a career I love, but in meeting my wife, I found a community here in Goffstown that I would also grow to love. Our family enjoys all that Goffstown has to offer, and I want to do my part at the local level to make sure Goffstown remains a place that we all want to live and can afford to live in. Because I know my taxes have been raised a couple of years. I've owned here about 5 years now, and my taxes have raised probably twice, I think, in the 5 years I've been here. So that puts a pretty good burden on us. I know with my energy, fresh outlook, love for the country, and motivation matched with my personal and professional skills will be an asset to the people of Goffstown. I'm careful with my money, and that's how I'll treat your money. I know you love Goffstown as much as my family does, so I humbly ask for your vote on March 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Next up is Frank Hobbs.
Hello, everyone. You're allowed to smile, by the way. Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Hobbs. I live here in Goffstown. I'm running for the Budget Committee, and I moved to Goffstown when I was 1. Been here a while. First off, I would like to thank the Goffstown Lions Club, the library, for all their work with this event, and the elusive Kathy Ball, who I'm convinced is a part of twins or triplets with the amount of work she gets done. I'd also like to thank every candidate that's in the audience here tonight, taking time out of their busy schedules to give back, run for town office. I've lived in Goffstown and have for the majority of my life. My family's been in Goffstown for over 50 years. I grew up in Goffstown, attended grade school at the Bartlett Elementary School, the old upper elementary school for anybody who remembers back then, and for a brief time, the Goffstown High School. I even played Little League for Goffstown, and we were really good, by the way. I have many fond memories growing up in Goffstown. I earned a BA degree in Economics and Business Administration from the University of New Hampshire's Whittemore School of Business and Economics. I then began a 30-year career in financial services. I've worked as a finance manager, stockbroker, licensed insurance agent, owned multiple businesses. I'm running for Budget Committee to help keep Goffstown safe and an affordable place for my 3.5-year-old little girl to live in. I'm running to make sure town departments are funded properly and responsibly. I've met with many of our department heads, and for those that don't know, in Goffstown we have exceptional department heads. As has been mentioned, we also have millions of dollars of needed projects that are on the very near horizon. And how we prioritize these and fund these is going to affect every Goffstown resident for decades to come. This is going to be critical. I'm very familiar with budgeting, accounting, finance, and should I be elected, I'll gladly use my years of experience to keep Goffstown a thriving, financially fit community now and in the future. I can be reached at frank.hobbs@gmail.com. I'm a businessman, and when I hear things like we may be able to build bridges without using public money, boy, do my ears perk up. When I hear things like grants, we're going to need to leverage what we do. Taxpayers' money to me is sacred, but there are ways to get it done, and I'm open to any ideas as long as they're in the best interest of Goffstown. So Thank you very much for your time, and I ask for your vote on March 8th.
Thank you, Frank. And next up is Samantha Kearns.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Kearns and I'm running for Budget Committee. I've always lived in New Hampshire. I grew up in Hollis. My father was on the fire department there and he taught me a lot about service and giving back to the community. My mother has tutored high school students in math and always volunteered with the first robotics team. And I found that learning about service that way and about how you can give back to your community has always been the most rewarding thing that you can do, you know. I moved to Goffstown in 2018, and the reason that I wanted to live here was because I would drive through on my way home from work and I just fell in love with this town. And I would drive through the center of town and I would say, you know, I want to buy a house here. And after some finagling in this wild housing market that we've had, I got myself a condo right in the center of town with my little Scottish Terrier, Shirley Bird, and she's fantastic. And yeah, and I recently switched, so I get to work in town at a bank as well, and so I also get to know a little bit about money and helping people and making things work and making budgets stretch and how you can take something and kind of stretch it and so that you can get everything that you need. You know, I'm going to keep it short because I know we have a lot of other candidates to get through as well, and I know we're also all really interested to have these one-on-one conversations. But I just want to thank the Lions Club and the Goffstown High School again for hosting this fantastic event, and I'm so excited for all the people that are here. And I hope to see all of you on March 8th, and that you'll vote for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samantha. Next up is Library Trustee and Diane Hebert.
Hi, everyone. I'll echo the thanks for the library, the Lions Club, and the high school for pulling this event together, and also for all of you for coming out. I kind of wish some of you hadn't, because there's a lot of people in the room, but that's okay. So, my name's Diane Hebert, and I'm running for a second term as library trustee. I'm a lifelong New Hampshire resident. I was born and grew up in Hooksett. My wife and I moved here to Pinardville in 2013. I have 4 kids total, and straddling a very large age range, 39 to 5. So yeah, we're currently raising round 2 absolutely adorable boys, one of whom will be at middle school next year, and the other one is just loving life at Glen Lake. So I was very grateful and honored, and truth be told, somewhat surprised, given my track record with raffles and contests and the cherry game at Glendy, to be elected the first time. But I've truly enjoyed the work that I've done with the library and the trustees, and really being able to serve a community that has become the only home that I can imagine living in. Community service, to a certain extent, runs in my family. You could not get my mom out in public with a crowbar, but my dad was everything from a volunteer firefighter to a water commissioner, sewer commissioner, and general all-around good guy. For work, I'm a full-time member of the faculty at Manchester Community College. I teach in the English Humanities department. So yes, I teach everyone's favorite course, college composition. Generally enough to make people back away when they find that out, just very slowly. So I also teach literature. I've been there for 21 plus years. So the work that I've done there and the work that I've done in the 3 years that I've sat on the library board has allowed me to combine a desire to serve the community with some of the values that I'm really passionate about, and that's open access, literacy, and lifelong learning. As a trustee, I've been able to support the work of the library and the work of the board through everything from updating policies to personnel manuals to working on a strategic plan committee. We will publish our first in a long time strategic plan this spring. So excited about that. And really excited to be kind of involved in the process of planning for a much needed library expansion to allow the library to better meet the needs of the people in Goffstown. I'd love to continue work on those projects through another term and to support everything that the library does for the people of Goffstown. So I'm asking for your vote on March 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And next up, we have Margaret Happy Beal.
Good evening. I too would like to thank, is that good? Okay. Everybody who made this evening possible and the brochure. So, yes, I'm Margaret, better known as Happy Beal. I've lived in Goffstown since 2014, but for 27 years before that, I lived in Bedford, and I have had close connections to the Goffstown community through St. Matthew's Church, right here on Main Street. I've taken a little different tack tonight. It's more kind of what my background is and why I love libraries, since I'm going to be involved in libraries if I get elected. So libraries have always played an important role in my life. One of my earliest memories, I write, is standing on the threshold of a doorway in my elementary school when I was in first grade, and it separated the elementary school from the primary. There I was gazing longingly at the row of little orange biography books. My sister had been bringing them home. She was 3 years older than me, and we'd read them together and every week. And now there I was in a little primary library and couldn't go into that room. So that was one of my, that's not going to happen when I grow up. I found many fond memories of growing up in a small rural town in western New York, where we had a public library called the Patterson Library. And it was such a strong community institution. I think I wrote in the brochure, I loved hanging out there as a young teenager, meeting up with friends and doing our homework together. It was very accessible, close to the center of town, and most of us could walk there. I remembered carrying piles of books home from my first term paper called Pirates and Petticoats, a topic which had not very much coverage in the school library, but they seemed to have tomes of it in the public library. But this library didn't serve only kids and teenagers. Our parents used it regularly, as well as did the Main Street merchants, business executives, local fruit farmers. We were the home of Welch's grape juice, so there was a lot of fruit grown there, and factory workers. When I went away to college, I was one of those kids who didn't really know what she wanted to do, so I became a history major. And by the time I graduated, decided that I loved spending hours in the library doing research, but I didn't like the writing part. So my plan would be to become a research librarian, where I could help others and do the research, spend the day in the library, and then somebody else could take my notes and write it all up. So off to graduate school I went to earn my degree in library science. That was later called information studies. I took some courses at that time in children's and young adult literature, fell in love with those two genres, and decided that being a children's librarian would suit me better than the academic path I had originally planned on. So that led to a 22-year career in elementary and then middle school librarian, aka library media specialist, in New York State, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire. I actually was in the Hollis Brookline school system myself in the middle school. So in addition to having always loved libraries and a 22-year career as a school library media specialist, what else qualifies me for a position on the Library Board of Trustees? I think I have a profound sense of what a good public library can and should offer its citizens. Today, it's of course so much more than simply offering information and checking out books, magazines, DVDs, digital formats. The library itself is a community resource, offering all sorts of programs and events for every age. And as I was thinking about this, I just happened to pick up this brochure. I think they're on most of your things. Civics Get Engaged, which is from our Goffstown Public Library right now. A look at this recent brochure on community conversations is just one example of the many ways the Goffstown Public Library is currently serving the community. Whoops, about my other page. Under the topic Civics Get Engaged, if you'll take a look, you'll find a variety of events for adults, for kids, for teens. And as you investigate further, you'll see that many of the events are in partnership with other community organizations. Manchester NAACP, the New Hampshire Institute of Politics, Goffstown Lions Club, the Goffstown Historical Society. A couple of summers ago, we took a couple of our grandkids to an outdoors astronomy program sponsored by the library and the New Hampshire Astronomical Association. With programs and partnerships such as these, it's no wonder the Goffstown Public Library won the New Hampshire Library of the Year Award in 2019. It's this type of community engagement and partnering, which only seems to keep growing with the Goffstown Public Library, in addition to the more traditional concept of lending library, that makes me want to be on the Goffstown Public Library Board of Trustees. And I think I have the background and the skills for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. And next up is Planning Board, Barbara Griffin.
I brought my timer. I'm a lawyer. I might go over. So I'm trying to do everybody a favor. Good evening, everyone. My name is Barbara Griffin. I'm running for re-election to the Planning Board. I've been on it for a few terms now, and I ask for your support. In the Planning Board, we apply the law to applications that come before us in using our zoning ordinances that we pass as a community every year. There will be some ordinance changes on your ballot this year. Those are coming forward from the Planning Board, and I think that my experience as a lawyer helps me deal with what those appropriate changes should be, and my history in town helps me apply the ordinances and the law to Goffstown. Because you're all here because of Goffstown. And people are here because they want to be here, they have a vision for it, or they like the vision they see now and they don't want it to change. I'd like to say that I hope I've been a little part of that. The first candidates night I was at was over 30 years ago. It was in a place called Stark Hall, the Congregational Church. And it was a room with not quite as many people. It wasn't televised, there was no media. And it was something that was done. I'm not sure the Lions Club was doing it. I think it might have been the Rotary Club at that point. So that will just give you an idea of what was in the room when I walked in some 30 odd years ago. before I came to my first candidates tonight, I did what I think a lot of you did here tonight, and I want to thank everybody who's here tonight for the first time on the ballot and the first time here, because this is a really hard thing to do. I saw some people outside. Where is that media center? There were no signs. It's an awful feeling to come to these things and not know where you're going or other people in the room. So I went to my neighbor to say, what do I say at this candidates night? I'm running for budget committee. It's a great way to start to learn about the community. And she said, well, whatever you do, don't tell them you moved here from Massachusetts. And for God's sake, don't say you were born in Brooklyn. And today, now 30 some odd years ago, the reality is most of the people in the room are from somewhere else. And in a way, that brings us together more than the people who have been here since before dirt, and that would be Rodney Stark and his family. Because we're all here because we want to be here. And we may not all have entirely the same vision of what we want the community to be like, but we would like the community to be where we are, where we all are. So I simply bring those thoughts to you today because I think the town has come a long way. I'd like to think that I've been part of the decisions that have been made. Like, we were the first town on the East Coast to have automated trash pickup. DPW actually went out west to take a look at the cans. Nobody believed they'd work in the snow. You're on media now because that decision was made while I was on the board. And I need to tell you, when I was on the Board of Selectmen and this decision was made, I didn't think it was such a great idea to have live broadcasts of meetings. Because I looked across the room at the other people on the board with me and I thought, they say some really stupid things and I will not be able to save them. But we've all managed together, and I'm here tonight to ask you to vote for me so we can all continue to go on this journey together, representing the interests of our town and our various boards, trying to do what we can do to make Goffstown the great place to live that we all know and love. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Next up is the supervisor of the checklist, 2 years, and Marie Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Let's see, where should I begin? My husband and 2 sons moved here from Alabama in 1996, so if you want to know about low taxes and private schools that cost more than Auburn University, you come talk to me about that. So we moved here in 1996 after I retired from the Air Force, and some of you, like she said, have been here quite a while. So this was after the Trestle Bridge had burned down. So Mr. Adams, it'd be great to have it rebuilt, you know, it'd be wonderful. And so people like Samantha and others who start driving through town, well, they'll probably want to move here too if there's any more houses around. Yeah, and so I was here before the Irving gas station was built and before Glen Lake School was built. Actually, I was on the school board for a year. I was filling the position of somebody who left. And it was an honor to work with Scott Gross, Sarah Surratt, Ginny McKinnon, who's still there, Ellen Vermakowitz, and a few others. So that, and I'm sure they were a little upset that I left after 1 year, but I really felt that the town was in good hands because those were really good people. And for the last, how many years I've been here, 27 or something, I feel the same way. We've got really good people on these boards and committees. I watch them on TV quite a bit. So thank you all for doing that. And let me back up a second. I wanted to thank the Lions Club for hosting this again. Last year, unfortunately, with COVID, it couldn't be held. And I also want to thank two other gentlemen who never get thanked, and that's our GTV crew, Aiden over here, and his partner David. All right. So yeah, I've got some degrees. Okay. I always wanted to travel. My sister and her husband were in the Air Force and went to Germany, and I thought, oh my God, that'd be great. So I joined the Air Force, and the furthest they sent me was Ottawa, Canada. So it's like, all right, it was great. I loved it, but my kids needed to settle down, so I got out and ended up back here in New Hampshire. It doesn't say it here, but I worked for the state police for a couple of years, and that was very interesting. Another excellent group of people I worked with there. Moved over to the Department of Education, again, wonderful people, and worked in the office. Well, I ended up in the Office of School Approval for quite a while, and what I used to do with my partner there is we would recommend schools, private and public, to be approved by the Board of Education. So, and then also I led visits to about 8 different school districts every year. So that was incredible experience. I got to travel parts of the state. It's like, oh my God, never knew small schools with 4 classrooms where the teacher was teaching 1st grade and 3rd grade, and she was just out of college. Incredible to see the differences in education we have across this state. And even over on the Vermont side, we have kids going to school in Vermont because we have some special agreement over there. So, all right, so I retired, and I'd always wanted to be a real estate agent, Sean, but I got to tell you, it's too much work. So I'm glad you're doing it and being successful. All right, my spare time, I'm still a member of the State Employees Association. As a matter of fact, I have to get some emails done in the next couple of days, so that's gonna keep me busy. What else? Okay, supervisors of the checklist. There's 3 wonderful ladies that do it, and if you looked at last year's annual report, you'd see their pictures. One of the ladies, I guess, is not filling her term, similar to when I got on the school board. So this is an important position, and actually I bet you've all met these ladies if you went to the school or town deliberative meeting over at Mountain View, because they were the ones checking you in and giving you that blue or yellow piece of paper. And they're always cheerful, they're always helpful, and when I've helped out at the different elections over the last few years, always in a great mood, and so I thought, you know, maybe for a couple of years, you know, I could join up, help them out, see if there's a way that we can do things better. You know, I've got some experience with databases and, you know, working with the public, trying to sell houses and things like that. So I thought, okay, I'll put my name in and see if I could learn, maybe help them out. So I just wanted to say, I don't know how 4 minutes seems like a long time, but so as some of you have been talking, and I appreciate everybody here who's running for a position, especially the folks who have never been in that position before. But we talk about taxes, and I just want to point out, because I do a lot of research, and you should see my house. It's a mess with all the papers, but we have such good people on these committees and department heads that the tax rate from 20 to 21 was exactly the same, $24.82. Okay, this is incredible for our folks to do that. So I applaud you for that. The other thing that hasn't been mentioned is it's not only that there's a whole lot of issues or things that impact our taxes. And one of them is the state, and nobody mentioned that. For example, the House just passed a bill, 1417, and the state wants to, or the people who passed this bill, want the state to pay 7.5% of what Goffstown is paying for the retirement of Diane, the retirement for our department heads. So this bill says, let's kick in and help the towns, help you cut your taxes by helping with the retirement of these wonderful people who've been helping to keep your taxes down. Because years ago, way before I lived here, there wasn't a New Hampshire retirement system. And the state or whoever was there at the time said, we can have this, and we're going to help the towns, and we're going to kick in all this money. But I think back around 2008, when we had that recession, they cut the money that was going to go to the towns. So anyway, this is an example where the state wants to send money back to the town. And I didn't get to look at all the voting records of our state reps, but at least one voted against it. So whoever gets on these boards, you're going to have to work with our state reps and whoever the state senator is going to be, because it's no longer going to be Senator D'Alessandro. He's been redistricted out of this area. So that's something I think you all need to pay attention to. So, that is the longest 4 minutes. I don't know. But thank you, everybody. Whoops, wait a minute. That's yours. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Marie. All right, and for those of you who have never been here before, who are new candidates, the people who have been here before and have run for office, this is probably the most important part of candidates night. A few candidates called me when they got Jim's letter just to go over a couple of things, just for clarification. But the most important thing seemed to be on their mind. Ken, are you going to tell a joke again this year? And at least a half dozen people who came in, that was the first thing they said. Not that I haven't seen you in 2 years or anything. You going to tell a joke tonight? And I was getting ready to leave, and my wonderful wife, Janine, said, you know, you have your cell phone, you have your wallet. Okay, yep, I have all that. You have the papers that you need. And I said, yes, and she gave me a kiss goodbye and says, oh, you are going to tell a joke tonight, right? And I said, so this is for her, who I know is watching. This is the story of Louis Johnson. And Louis applies for a job at a straw factory. They produce straw. And he's meeting with HR, and the lady's going over all the benefits with Louis. And she tells Louis, she says, you know, one of the things we do, we encourage our employees to use our product. So anytime you want, feel free. You can take some straw home, load up a wheelbarrow, take some straw. We encourage our employees to use our product. So after working there a few days, Louis loads up a wheelbarrow, takes some straw, goes to go through security. Security guard just waves him through. So Louis does the same thing the next day, the next day, the next day. And now the security guard gets a little suspicious. So when Louis tries to get through again, the security guard stops him, and he looks at the wheelbarrow, he looks at the straw, and he says, Louis, you don't have anything else, do you? Louis says, no. Security guard lets him go. And this goes on for a few more months. Every day, Louis shows up, wheelbarrow full of straw. Security guard lets him go through it. Now the security guard starts checking. He has Louis empty his pockets. He looks under the wheelbarrow. He looks under the straw. Never finds anything. This goes on for months. Every single day, Louis comes through with a wheelbarrow full of straw. This goes on for years. The security guard never finds anything. After 30 years of doing this, Louis retires. And Louis goes to his retirement dinner, and they give him his gold watch, and he leaves. He's walking in the parking lot out toward his car, and who's standing there is that same security guard. And he says to Louis, he says, "Look, Louis," he says, "I know you were stealing from that company." He says, I know it. He says, "I never found anything. I saw you, though, every day. You're loading up a wheelbarrow full of straw and you're going home." He says, "I know you were stealing something. It doesn't matter anymore, Louis. You don't work for the company. Can you please at least tell me what you were stealing?" And Louis says, "Yes, wheelbarrows." And as you know, I have nice, clean jokes here, so. But thank you. One quick thing, listening to all the people who have lived in town, my wife's family actually moved to Goffstown in 1969. Her father retired from the Air Force. He was a combat veteran of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And he decided to retire. He had 8 kids. And my wife tells me that after about a year of retirement, he thought it was safer in the Army than spending time with the 8 kids at home. But that house that we live in, that was actually moved from one spot to another. My wife looked up went to town hall, looked up. It had been moved sometime about 1890 by Mr. Barnard, who owned all that property where that house is. And the gentleman who lived across the street, actually where Brad Parkhurst lives, that house, he was about 90, and he was telling my wife, she was about 10 years old at the time, he remembers when they moved that house down about 3 lots, and they used oxen at that time to move the house. So a lot of history in Goffstown. That's why it's great to hear all the people who have lived here for so many years. So, but anyway, coming up next here, we have the Zoning Board of Adjustment for 3 years, and that's Gail Lebrecht.
Thank you. First, I want to applaud everybody who's good at public speaking and who can just speak off the cuff, because I can't. They say public speaking is the #1 fear. I'll start over. I want to applaud everybody who's good at public speaking, because I'm not. And they say public speaking is the #1 fear of a lot of people, and that's me included. And especially with the room so full tonight, yeah, I'm kind of shaking here a little bit. But I do want to thank the Lions Club, the library, and the school for sponsoring this event tonight. It's a wonderful service that you do offer the community so that they can be aware of the candidates that are looking for the votes, and it's also a wonderful opportunity for us candidates to be able to talk with you tonight. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here tonight to listen to us speak. I do see a lot of familiar faces, and I see a lot of new ones, and I think that's wonderful. My name is Gail Lebrecht, and once again, I'm running for a seat on the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I've lived in Goffstown since 2001. My husband and I have been married for 27 years. Our kids are grown and on their own. We have 9 grandchildren, and 2 of those do go to Goffstown schools. My degree is in paralegal studies. Currently, I hold 2 jobs. Neither of them are in the legal field, though. I have worked as a licensed family child care provider in my home for about 30 years, taking care of other people's children. And since 2006, I've worked as an independent contractor as a recording secretary for Goffstown. I write the minutes for 7 of the town boards. It started out as just doing 1 board once a month, but it grew over the years. And it's a fun job. I have to say, I have really come to love it. It just happens to be something I do get paid for. I get to meet other board members, and I also get to be more aware of what's going on in these boards and in the town. I'm also a member of the Capital Improvements Program Committee and an alternate on the Planning Board. But for me tonight, it's about the Zoning Board. Before I even began doing the minutes to the first of these boards that I mentioned a few seconds ago, I became a member of the ZBA starting in 2004. I've learned, there's a lot to learn being on the ZBA, and
things change as the laws and ordinance change. We can't base our after hearing an application, we can't base our determination on whether or not we like the applicant or the application. We can't base our decision on whether or not we agree with those laws and ordinances either. The laws and ordinances are there for us to follow. The laws are enacted by the state and the ordinances are voted on by you, the voters. Until the pandemic, I've attended most of the trainings and conferences offered to try to stay current over the years. My reasons for wanting to retain a seat on the ZBA are because I believe residents should give back to their community in whatever way they can. I enjoy working with others on behalf of our community. Goffstown is wonderful, yet changes and growth are inevitable over time. I hope to help maintain its character even in the process of that. First and foremost, I want to continue to serve Goffstown on the ZBA because of the love I've come to have for this town. We bought here because of the house and the lot, its location. But this community is filled with caring and kind people, and it's the people that have made Goffstown a real home for me. And it makes it a community that I want to serve. So I thank all of you who do go out to vote, and I hope you, and who have voted for me in the past, and I hope that you would vote for me again this time. It's something that I would be honored to serve you again, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. And next up, Town Moderator, Rod Stark.
Well, this is a good crowd. Thank you. To the Lions Club, the school, the library. It's an important event. And I'm glad to see so many people here on a bad night. I'm Rod Stark. I think I'm the only person running who was born in this town. I was born in a building that no longer exists. It's where the police station, down by the car dealer, more general. And anyway, and I gotta say, I remember that bridge falling into the river. So if you can get that rebuilt, more power to you. Let me know if I can help. Back 40 years ago, I got a call from the then town clerk, George Amo. George said, Lloyd is getting done. Lloyd Sorensen, who was the town moderator for quite a while, he said he's not going to do it anymore. How would you like to run? I said, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So I went over and talked with him, and he says, get down and meet Lloyd down in Penardville. So I did. And I said, Lloyd, how do you handle the ballots? He says, Jerry and Roger Aubin take care of those ballots. They have their teams, and they have all the workers and the tables laid out and everything. And all you got to do is make sure that they'll continue to work, and the ballots will be taken care of. So I went and I did talk to Jerry and Roger Aubin as well. And then I got back to George Amo. I said, okay, put me on the ballot. So and I've been running for moderator ever since. I think I had an opponent twice. I don't think anybody else wants the job, but Tunny Branch ran against me one year, and the candidates night was in the church on North Mass Street. And Tunny got up, and he said how long he had lived in Goffstown. And he wasn't born in Goffstown, but he'd been here a long time. So then I got up to say for the first time that I was born in Goffstown. So that's my speech right there, you know what I mean? That doesn't entitle me to anything, but I do have, I have two sons, both of whom graduated from this school right here. I graduated from the old high school the last year that anyone graduated from that school. That was 1964. And it's been repurposed into a very nice facility now. But it was a good high school then. And so my two sons, as I say, have graduated from here. Nobody in my immediate family lives in town except for me and my campaign manager, who is Bailey. Some of you probably know who Bailey is. Bailey, I would have brought Bailey tonight, but he's a little under the weather, so he stayed home. But Bailey goes to work with me every day. He's my little Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. He's 8, and he knows Town Hall like the back of his hand because they all have treats over there for him at the hardware store and, you know, the neighborhood. So anyway, he's my main guy. I don't really have a platform except I like this job. It doesn't pay for shit, but it's a good job, and I have to say, I wouldn't do it but for Kathy Ball and her staff. I just wouldn't, because she does all the work. And you all know that. I mean, starting with George Amo, and over the years, there's been a number of wonderful town clerks who've had Kathy's position, and they've all done a great job, but none any better than Kathy Ball. Anyway, there's been a lot of news and controversy, I guess, and stuff going around the AccuVote machines. All right, I'm telling you, we've had one recount since we put those vote machines back in the 80s. We've had one recount in the town of Goffstown, and it was off by one vote. All right? Now, the beauty of the AccuVote is you have 100% paper backup. 100% paper backup. We have capable people who program those machines and who we're going to be testing we're testing the machines and the ballots on Monday for town meeting. And so it's a good system. I don't want to see it interrupted. I mean, if we don't have it, we have to go back to, and I guess we could if we had to. It's going to cost the town a lot of money. I'm hearing budget things, okay? We could get people in here to count. The problem with that is that there's so many people that come out to vote now. You're counting. We have 4-man teams if you count. 2 counting and 2 checking. And you'll be here until after midnight. Everybody gets tired. Okay? So there's no good reason to get rid of the machines. They've been authorized and tested by the Ballot Law Commission. I think if I have any credential that entitles me to this job, it's that I have worked very closely over the years with Bill Gardner, he's gone now, but Dave Scanlon, who's now secretary, and the other people in the Secretary of State's office, going way back to when my father was secretary. But it's important to have that relationship, because if there's any issue or any question that comes up, I just call up the Secretary of State and get an answer. Those guys know what they're talking about. And but like I say, I just hope that bridge gets rebuilt. That's the best thing I heard all night. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Rod. GTV, you may want to check that tape at 3 minutes, 58 seconds for Rod's exuberance. So. Okay, next we have the Zoning Board of Adjustment, 2 years. That's Jason Cote. So make sure I do the pronunciation. Is he here? Okay. I couldn't tell. There's a mark there. I didn't want to leave him out. So, next we have the School Board. And first up is Shane Rosmus.
All right, thank you everyone. Good evening. My name is Shane Rosmus and I'm a candidate for school board. I'd like to start out by thanking the Goffstown Lions Club and the library for putting together the fantastic candidate guide. Always informative, thank you. So I'm going to begin by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm an educator by trade, and I've been working in the field for almost 15 years. I have experience as a substitute teacher, a paraprofessional, and currently I'm a special education teacher and case manager, department head, and extended school year coordinator in Exeter. I earned my BA in history and political science at UNH, went on to do postgraduate work to get my special education certification at Granite State College, and I most recently earned my master's degree in educational leadership and administration at Southern New Hampshire University. I live in Pinardville with my wife Shannon, my son Kieran, and our 3 cats and 1 dog. I've proudly served on the Goffstown School Board since being appointed in April 2021, and I'm currently a committee member on both the Goffstown and SAU 19 policy review committees. I'm running in hopes of being able to continue to work on behalf of Goffstown students and families. I'm passionate about public education and making sure that all students have the tools that they need to be successful. I believe that our children are our most precious assets, and it is our job as a community to ensure that our schools provide every opportunity for our children to thrive and find success in whichever avenue they pursue, be it college, military, the trades, or entering the workforce. As a high school teacher, I'm in the classroom every day working with students of varying abilities and talents. This allows me to have a unique perspective of not only what students need to be supported and thrive, but also how a school community functions on a day-to-day basis. Although our students have continued to perform above the state average in academic performance, there's no question that the past 2 years have taken a toll. I'm running for school board so that I can do my part to help our children regain confidence, become re-engaged in their academics, and reestablish the social roots that are so essential to their development. If re-elected to the school board, I will be a fierce advocate for our students and families and will always make decisions with their best interests in mind. I will continue to support remediation strategies and programs to help our students get back on track academically, socially, and emotionally. I will continue to ensure that all of our students on all trajectories have the resources, tools, and opportunities to be successful. I will champion innovation and work with administration and staff to monitor how we educate and assess our children while supporting creative solutions in regards to staff retention and recruitment. I will maintain fiscal responsibility and transparency by ensuring our infrastructure is sound through long-term budgeting and capital project planning. I will trust and support our teachers and other professionals to implement a comprehensive curriculum with a clear vision and goals. I will support policies that are practical and emphasize student achievement and safety. Finally, if re-elected to the school board, I will continue to work with our community members, teachers, and administration to ensure that our schools remain the foundation of our community and that all of Goffstown's children have access to a well-rounded, rigorous education that will challenge them, encourage them to think critically, and allow them to grow into productive community members. Again, my name is Shane Rosmus, and it's been an honor serving Goffstown's families over the past year. On March 8th, I humbly ask for your vote to continue to serve on the Goffstown School Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. And next up is Michael Shepednuk.
Hello everyone. My name is Michał Szczepaniak, but you can call me Michael if that's easier. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this event for providing opportunity to present my candidacy for the Goffstown School Board. I am 45, I'm married to my wife Marta, and we have one son Boris who currently attends MVMS, and we have lived in Goffstown for 9 years. A little background about me. I was born and grew up in Poland, which was under communist regime at the time. I witnessed terrible aspects of that ideology, lived through the country's transformation and various turns of history. I got my bachelor's degree in computer engineering while working sometimes 2 jobs at a time. After graduating and working for several years in the IT industry, I was recruited by an American company, and after going through a thorough and lengthy immigration process, we came to the United States. That was 17 years ago, and since then we lived in Massachusetts for a few years. We moved to New Hampshire and eventually settled in Goffstown. And after another lengthy process, we became proud American citizens as we fell in love with this country, state, and town. Thank you. As far as my professional career goes, currently I am a principal software developer at one of the leading companies providing solutions for libraries and academic and medical research institutions. I have been in software development for over 20 years and worked in various business areas, including state departments, finance, healthcare, insurance, and I manage people and projects with budgets counted in multiple millions of dollars. Now, why am I running for the school board and what do I offer? Well, first of all, I believe that the voices of parents who currently have kids in our schools are underrepresented. And I would like to be that voice that is in touch with current needs, problems, and concerns. I would like to make sure that the school board and school administration directs their energy and focuses on providing the best education for our children and brings back normalcy. I want to provide a voice of reason, logic, and facts into the decision-making process. I will fight to make sure parents are offered options to choose what is best for their families based on their individual choices, preferences, and beliefs. I want to make sure that divisive and controversial ideologies are not part of our school curriculum, as I have personally lived through some of them and can share quite a few stories from my and my family's history perspective, but that's for another time. From some of the most recent problems, I would like to work closely with, to mitigate the current school transportation issues. I really like some of the ideas, very innovative ideas presented by the superintendent in one of the most recent school board meetings. And with my background in software engineering, I'm willing to help as much as I can in bringing efficient and modern solutions to solve this problem. And in general, I'm looking forward and hope to work closely with other school board members, school administration, teachers, and parents. Be as transparent as possible and open to hearing voices from all perspectives. Well, as you can hear, I have a very heavy accent. My name is quite unique. It's almost impossible to pronounce or spell, but I hope you can find me on the ballot and vote for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Next up is Kate Shea.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, and I know you always hear that from the last person on the list, but I promise you, everybody's going to be getting one of these in their mail very soon, and all you need to do is scan the little code. I didn't know how to do this, but you hold your phone up to it apparently and scan the code, and you get all kinds of information that will be helpful to give you info on our backgrounds and whatnot. So I'll keep it short tonight, but first off, how about those Grizzlies? Can we hear it for the Grizzlies, right? The basketball team? Great job, guys. So I'm here tonight because I have 4 kids in this town. We have been here for about 17 years. This is my first opportunity to run for political office, but I am not a novice at this in any way because since my kids started school the last 6 years, I became a volunteer educational advocate in the state. We are a bit of a unique family. I have 2 sets of twins, and I have 3 of them. All 3 boys are on the autism spectrum. So the fight was handed to me. The battle was handed to me, and I gladly accepted it because I love my children dearly. And none of us, enter parenthood with someone handing you a manual saying, guess what? Your life's going to be hitting some challenges and some speed bumps along the way. You've got autism up ahead. You have medical issues up ahead. You have all kinds of challenges up ahead. But that's the reality of the population that we have today. Our neurodiverse communities are getting to be larger and larger in number, and I simply just look at it as a difference in brain wiring. That does not mean that there isn't hope and potential for these kids. So I very quickly, I found myself in the role of advocating, not just locally, but taking phone calls and emails and people begging all hours of the day and night for me to help them. And because I believe in not sitting on the sidelines, I jumped in with both feet. Now, I'm a working mom, single mom. My ex-husband lives here in Goffstown, right off Mass Road. We both have invested in the community here, and we want to be here long term. But with all the division, everything else going on, and seeing kids struggle, teachers struggle, I felt I needed to jump in here and try to do something, even if I moved the dial a little bit. I'm not from Goffstown originally. I have a diverse perspective, however. I've lived in many different places, and I'm bringing a position of sort of diversity and inclusion to the outlook that I have on things. And I became a fighter for kids, families, and teachers in this state because of the needs that my children faced and others faced that shared those burdens with me. So I believe in investing to a stronger Goffstown community. I kind of was born into this. I was born into education and politics since I was a baby. My mother was a public school teacher for her career in New York State, and then I have two sisters that are both teachers currently. I am not a teacher by trade, but I do have a degree in pre-law and am pursuing an advanced degree in software engineering. So as a mother of four, the families, the struggles that everyone faces are very real to me. I felt this in my own family. It literally uprooted us at certain points in time, and I'll be the first to say that. So I'm very close to these issues. So what are the kinds of things that I want to address? Well, given the diverse background, looking at special needs families, I kind of have a platform of three things really, which is educational excellence. Why might I have that? Well, because I believe in educational excellence for everyone, not just certain groups, but for everybody. Just a short example of this, one of my kids was entering a program this last year, and someone made the comment on the IEP team, well, that's really for gifted kids. He can't do that. You know what? He's getting straight A's because I believe in him, and we're investing in him, and I'm giving him the time. So I think that's possible for all kids, not just some kids. And we need to look at transparency and focus on proficiency scores. In this state, we have 36,000 kids with an IEP. They have 13% proficiency in math, 17% in reading. That's not okay with me. We are going to have a whole population of dependent citizens if we don't get in front of this. So I do believe in investing. I believe in investing in education, doing it in a smart way. And I think that my career, as you'll read about on the page here, will explain how I have the talents to do that. Goffstown schools continue to grow in attendance numbers, diversity, and we're going to need to have an evolving position on what we're doing about this and to be changing with the times. We need transparency into where our federal dollars are going. Where are the ESSER funds going? Are they going to COVID testing, or are they going to actually remediate learning loss for our kids that lost so much in the last couple of years? And none of this is to say we're pointing the finger. It's to say it's okay to say we have a problem, right? Because in my line of work in software engineering, we'd rather find out about the problem up front than to see it propagate and become worse over time. So some of these things are fixed by funding. Some of these things are fixed not by funding, but by process. So I do bring a unique background firsthand working with the Department of Education as a volunteer for family engagement. And that is an area that we're sorely lacking in here locally. We have tried numerous times to get folks engaged. It's not because families don't want to be engaged. It's because we need a partnership. We need partners on the board. We need partners in our local town government that will work with our state partners and take advantage of things like Kelly mentioned, like grants. Take advantage of programs like there's a summer camp program I just came across today that's subsidized. People could be sending their kids to camp, have part of that paid for. There are great programs out there we're just not tapping into. So I do hope to be that voice. I love to work with people. I work with software developers who bring a very different perspective in the way that they think about things. And my love is to be challenged by different ways of thinking, bring people together to be productive and accomplish things. So, you know, when you find yourself loving people, you're always at the forefront of the battle, right? And that's kind of what brought me here today. As I thought about coming here and what brought me here, it took quite an evolution to get me here, and I'm thankful for the challenges that we hit along the way, because I wouldn't be here today without those challenges. I wouldn't be able to help the other people I've thrown a lifeline to. But we have people here in this town that also need help in those areas. And I do find this rewarding. Other than being a mom, I find this rewarding. I'll bring accountability, transparency, improved communications and engagement with family and teachers, which is the other important part here I'm kind of leaving out. The teacher's voice needs to be represented better. And I have been to countless IEP meetings as a parent. I have looked across the table and known that they wanted to share things with me and they could not share those things. So I want to be a neutral party. I think the board should be for all stakeholders, right? For our town, for our families, for our kids, for our teachers, to have a voice in what happens. It shouldn't be a behind closed doors thing. It should be something where we unite people together, and it doesn't matter what side we're on, we can do better. So with that, I thank you for your time. I probably took up way more than 4 minutes, so I apologize for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Next up is Retta Chaffee.
Good evening, everyone. And is this, can you hear me okay? Okay. Anyways, like everyone else, I want to thank the Lions Club, the library, but I want to give a special shout out to GTV. I think this is sometimes a hidden gem that the town doesn't realize how much GTV does for our town in bringing information out. So I know on the school board we rely on them for sports and everything else. So I just want to mention that. And also, I think you got me beat, Rodney. I was not born in the more general, but my sister was. So she's not here tonight, so you get me. My name's Retta Chaffee, and I'm running for school board. A little bit about my background. You'll find some things in the brochure that's been handed out. I grew up in Goffstown. I graduated from Goffstown High School along with my 4 siblings. I moved away. I moved around the country, around the world, but I came back to Goffstown with my husband, and we have 2 daughters who are currently in high school, one about to graduate, so they're also going through the Goffstown school system. A little bit about my experience. I'm running, I've just completed 3 terms, three-year terms, and I'm running for my 4th on the school board. I've been the vice chair for 5 years, and I serve on both the curriculum and the planning and communication subcommittee. So there's lots of committee work that you do as well. And I'm currently the board of the SAU 19 board. I'm the chair of that. So a little bit about my background. I have over 40 years of experience in education, in the educational field, and this spans from K-12 through high school and higher ed. I've worked in both public and private schools. And I'm currently the Director of Educational Technology at Granite State College, which is part of the university system in New Hampshire, soon to be merged with UNH. And I oversee the online courses, the online program there. So I think from my background, you can probably tell I'm passionate about education. It's been a common theme in everything that I do. But I also have other experience through all of the positions I've held. I do a lot with organizational development, project management, as well as budget management. So those are all skills that I bring to the table. So I think when we talk, sometimes people don't really understand what happens at the school board and what it is that we're actually responsible. There's some pretty high level things that we are responsible for probably first and foremost is the budget. And the budget is something that the board puts together every year. There's a lot of input. There's a whole process that's been worked out to get input and feedback. And then ultimately it goes to the town to be voted on. So we take a lot of things into consideration. We understand that there's an impact on the tax rate. And as Scott has pointed out, that is essentially it is affected by spending and the revenues that come in, and that will affect our budget and the tax rate in the end. And with the money coming in, it's through tuition as well as grants. We get a lot of grants, and a lot of the departments are really proactive in getting those grants, which again helps with the budgeting. We're also obviously academics is very key. We're looking at outcomes, we're looking at performance, and that is continuous. We're always looking at that, and I think you've heard it over and over again. For the amount of money we spend, our performance is high. We have really high performance, and it's not just one group. We're looking across the board. When performance is low, for example, in the past couple of years, we immediately say, how are we going to address this, and start thinking about how do we bring that achievement and performance up. The other thing is leadership, in that it's really important to have good leadership. With good leadership, decisions are made that are going to work, and that the people working, everybody working in the school system is relying on that good leadership, and with good decisions, you're prepared. But there's always hard decisions, and this is, I think that we're going to have to make very hard decisions, and we have to look at everybody, and we're always looking at the community. Ultimately, we're going to have to make decisions about that are not going to work for everybody, but we have to think of the entire community. But that's not everything, because we also think of the community in making connections. And I'd love to see Kelly's list. I'd love to steal some ideas, and I'd actually like to suggest maybe the whole town gets together and looks at that list. But I think we do a really great job with the partnerships with the library. We're working with the budget committee. We're always we're involved in collaborating with other departments and other we bring volunteers in. So this is really important, and it's not just about the schools. It's where do the schools fit in the community. We're all one town. So just to sum it up, I'd like to say that I'm really proud of the work that we've done. We're a highly functioning board. We don't all agree. We openly discuss things. We get input either during public comment, or people communicate by email, but there's always respect there. This is what keeps me coming back. If it weren't a highly functioning board, it would be much more challenging. So really a shout out to all of the board members for the work that they do. And it's also, the other reason is we've made a lot of progress, and but the work is not done. And we all know that for the past couple of years, there's a lot of catching up to do, and that has been a priority. The other thing that I think I bring to the table is the vision. I'm not just thinking about here and now and the decision for today, but looking in the future. We all know that there's change happening. It's happening all the time, and how do we adjust and be flexible about that and take advantage of opportunities when they're presented? So I would be honored to serve for another term, and I'd appreciate your vote on March 8th. And if I can steal just a couple seconds, I'd love to give a shout out to Dan Cloutier, who could not be here this evening. He's also running for re-election, and he has been on the board for 19 years, and he's been a real asset when it comes to budgeting and also involvement with the state. So thank you, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Retta. I have a name checked on one list and not checked on another, so I'll just ask, is Naomi Major here? Yep. I thought so, but I wanted to make sure.
Save the best for last, I see. So hello, everybody. We made it here to the end. My name is Naomi Major, and keeping on this theme of how are you connected to Goffstown, I come from 5 generations in Goffstown. Some of you might remember my grandfather, Clarence Normand. He's one of the original members of the New Hampshire Giant Pumpkin Grower Association. I believe he had New Hampshire's biggest pumpkin in 2017 or thereabouts, so it's about 760 pounds. Now they're over 2,000 pounds, so that's just amazing. So thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Thank you to the Lions Club for sponsoring, the Public Library for your support, and GTV. So a little background on me. I am a certified medical laboratory scientist. I have specialized in microbiology and molecular science in the clinical setting. I am a hardworking entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner for 9 years now. I am a mother to 4 children. They run the gamut from, honor roll students and star athletes. I have children with learning disabilities and health challenges. So I know that their needs are very diverse for every parent. And so I get that. I get that everybody needs a level of support. I'm running for school board because I believe we do need moderate voices on that board that are able to hear ideas and voices from across the table, both from teachers and parents alike. I know that families have been through a very hard time these last 2 years, and I want parents to know that I believe ultimately you know best how to care for your children, and I believe that fervently. As a special needs mom, I have learned how to work effectively with the school system. One thing I learned is that a one-size-fits-all approach is rarely the right approach. Our children are so unique. They require that nuanced approach. I know it takes more upfront work when you approach it that way, but the outcome is so worth it. Through the years of advocating, there was many times that I was concerned, I was even fearful that my child was going to be left behind, that the school was going to withhold resources. I don't know why I felt that way, but I did. And I have found that a lot of families feel that way. There's this general apprehension or this fear. But what I discovered as I went through the process is that the teachers and the support staff wanted a great outcome for my child, and they were willing to come up with creative solutions with me to watch him succeed. And so that's something I'm really passionate about. I want to help to change that perspective of apprehension that a lot of parents have right now so that they can know they're an essential part of their child's education team. And really, I think that that will give them more buy-in to get engaged. Okay, we need better engagement. I cannot tell you how many times I've talked with teachers and different support staff, and they said, geez, Naomi, people just advocated like you did. And my heart would break when I would hear that, especially when I saw the look almost of despair on the teacher's face when they said that. So I really want to get to work on shifting that perspective so people can know we're on the same team. I don't know where that went sideways, but it has, and it's time to fix that for the kids' benefit. I'm fortunate to be able to advocate for my kids, but I do worry about the children who do not have that support. I think every child certainly needs an advocate, so I'm going to look at that. I do know that there's some great volunteer advocates that work at this, but particularly now more than ever since there's been a lot of regression through the pandemic, so we got a lot of work to do on that front. I also have an ear and a heart for teachers. I've seen firsthand how gosh darn they work. They have so much on their plate. I dare say they have too much on their plate. I want to take a look at how we can streamline and simplify their duties so they can do what they do best. As a scientist, I have learned that the best approach is through careful observation, listening, something that we all need to do more of. Once you do that, you can observe, you can see the patterns, you can see what works, you can see what doesn't work. Gather information and consider all factors, you guys. There's rarely just one way to look at anything. And together and collectively come up with a great solution. I know that with this thoughtful and flexible approach that I want to take, that I'm going to be able to work effectively with any member of the school body, and I am more than ready to get to work for the parents of the town of Goffstown. I appreciate your vote on March 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. Is there anyone who did not get called up? Just want to make sure. Okay. First of all, I want to thank all the candidates. You know, we all have busy lives, and really want to thank the people who have stepped up to represent the town and to do what's best for the town. Very lucky. Goffstown's a great place to live, and I want to do a special shout out right now to police, fire, EMTs, and all the first responders. All right, well, once again, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Again, if the candidates have time, if they can stay, if anyone has any specific questions for them, feel free. But I want to also thank Diane. Thank you once again. Diane emailed me even before Kathy Ball. That's how you know, it's just unbelievable. So thank you. And thank you, Kathy, also. And I'd like to thank GTV for being here this evening, and all the members of the Lions Club. Everyone have a very safe evening. And don't forget to vote on March 8th. Have a good night, everyone.